Hey guys, I've noticed there's only a couple of videos on YouTube that relate to Unity's low-level API or their transport layer, so I'm deciding to make one. In this video, we're just going to cover the basics and I'll show you how to set it up, but they have this great web page and I'll put that in my description, but we only need most of this. There's a few things on here that we're not going to use, but we're basically going to be almost writing this code exactly how it's written here, and I'll explain a little bit more than this web page might to help you guys understand it. So I put a game manager and we'll just disable whichever script we need to at the time when we built the game to test it out, and that's all you need is two scripts, a client and a server. So once you open those up, one important thing, in the build settings you must go to player settings, and where it says run in background, which is right here, you must check that. And the reason is using the transport layer, once you establish a connection, you must maintain it. If no packets are sent back and forth for a certain amount of time, it'll just disconnect the player. So we'll start with the server. I'm sure you can find other videos similar to this. We're gonna add these top two here. You don't really need, but we'll keep it anyway because why not? So we'll go to using Unity engine.networking, and I believe the other one is using system.text. Yeah, perfect. Down here we'll create some variables. So I believe the first one is int. We might want to make these private so other scripts can't access it, because you don't want to change some of these values while it's running. Private int max connections, or you can do max players or whatever you want and just set it here. In fact, you might want to make it a constant. We'll say I like 20. Then after max connections, we need to add a port, and this needs to be consistent. All this information we're adding here needs to be consistent between the server and the client. So we'll set a private int port equal to, I believe there's 65,000 possible ports you can have on your computer. And I read somewhere that you don't have all 65,000. I don't know if by that they meant you can't use all 65,000, like your computer's not capable of it, or if they're saying you're not running all 65,000 ports at the same time. But anyway, we'll just use one like 2, 3, 5, 4, 3. It's simple. Then you need a host ID. Whoops. And we're not going to set that to anything. Then we need 2 channels, private int unreliable channel, and a private int reliable channel. We're not going to set these to anything yet. Just know the unreliable channel, anything sent on there does not necessarily reach the client, vice versa. And the reliable channel, how it works, it'll send the information, and if the person it's sending it to, let's say the client for example, does not return a message saying that it got the information, it'll attempt to send it again. how it's been explained from the source I learned from is basically you only use the reliable channel. Like if somebody's making a purchase or something like that, and it's important that it goes through. We'll make a private byte error. You can do private void start. And here, so here we need to initiate the transport layer, and to do that, you need to type in network transport, and this will only pop up if you added the Unity engine.networking. If you didn't, this isn't going to work. Dot ni or init, open and close parentheses, and a semicolon. Then from there we need to set a connection configuration. So connection config equals connection config, give it a name, so cc equals new connection config. Then we got to set the reliable channel equals cc, which is your connection config you just made, dot add channel, and then open parenthesis, open parenthesis, QoS type dot reliable. Boy, I can't type today, can I? And for the unreliable channel, you're going to do the same thing, except the QoS type will be unreliable. And this will be used for the send and receive function we make later on. Then we must make a host topology. Host topology equals, ht equals, you can name it whatever you want. I'll just do ht equals new host topology cc, which was our connection config, and max connections. And host ID equals, which is the variable we made earlier, network transport dot add host. And then in here, put our host topology, our port number, and if you set this to null, any player that joins can be a host. Now we'll make an update function. And in here, we're going to create some more variables. So int rec host ID, int connection ID, int channel ID, byte, byte, rec buffer. And if you're wondering, since I'm doing a horrible job at typing, this is all coming from here, which this part is down here. Equals new byte 1024 int buffer size equals 1024 int data size and byte error. Then after that, we have to set network event type rec data equals network transport dot receive. Whoops. Now this right here is how we start listening for packets or what other clients or whoever is trying to send, like basically any information we're going to receive is done through this uh, little function here. So most of these you just retype in the order that we wrote them here, but some of them you have to put out before, as you can see in this list. It tells you which one you gotta put out on. I believe that's how it was done. And then we're gonna make a switch. So what this will do, it'll read the ref data, which is what we created here, and it'll choose what to do based on the information coming in. So rec data, and then in here, whoops, make a couple cases. So I believe there's 5 different things you can do. You can do a lot more than that. So network event type. Here's how we'll find out. So there's 5 different things that can happen here. This is the only one we're not going to use, this one at the top. We'll do nothing. And then you set a colon. We're just going to break it for now. Case network event type. Oh my gosh. Dot connect event, which you only really need on the server. We'll just break it for now. We'll mess with it in a minute. Case network event type dot, and it's going to be data event, which is the main one we're going to be using. Pretty much anything that's not nothing. Anything like the other one's going to be disconnect. So connect and disconnect only get called once per player while they're playing. Case network event type dot disconnect event break. So this is perfect here. This is pretty much everything we need to get started. Now only most of this gets copied over to the client. Just so you guys know, if you want to do a web server, like if you want to put this on a web page, which Unity will let you compile for over here, I think it's called WebGL. Yeah, if you want to compile for WebGL, which it'll make a whole web page for you, you don't have to do anything. In here you have to add one line, and I believe that would be, if we go back to the web page, I may have mentioned this earlier. Uh, right here. Add WebSocket host, which we will not be doing. But just so you know, you cannot host a server on a web page. It has to be standalone, which is how we're going to be building our game. So it's gonna give you all these warnings. You don't have to worry about it, because this information we're not necessarily setting. Like, it'll be done later by the script itself. Copy this over. Wow. What? I didn't paste it. Maybe I did by accident. Well, that's weird. If I type one here, save it. Huh. Well, that works for me. So if you want to send information, which we'll do just to test, well, first I'll make a way to receive information. So I want to type in. I'm basing this off of a picture I took from a different project I'm working on. So we'll type in. We'll get rid of this line. String. Oh my gosh. Message equals encoding dot Unicode, which is what we're going to use. Dot get string. And then we'll type in rec buffer, which is set here. Zero. And data size, which you'll understand later when we send a message. And then, just so we know we got it, we'll go down here and we'll type in debug.log message. So we're gonna build the server in Unity and run the client separately. Give me a second. Okay, over here on the client, we're gonna have to go down here, and if you copied and pasted it, make sure you change this to client. It should be, or at least whatever you named your client script. Go down here, type in private int connection ID. Then for the client, you need to go down here to host ID, and where we set it to add host, you add the host topology variable, and you just have 0 afterwards. And then you can go down a line and type in connection ID equals network transport dot connect, type in host ID, the IP, so I believe it's 127.0.0.1 for localhost, so that should work for all of you. If you're going to host it on a different machine, or you want to be able to play with other people on the same network, I believe it's Windows R, which is run, and then type in CMD, and then type in exactly like I do here, type in ipconfig. Here, I'll make a note of that, just so you guys. connect to server from a different machine. Follow these steps, and then we'll type in Windows key plus R, and then type CMD, and then type in yep, that'll be perfect. And then down here, after that, we'll type in the port, exception, connection ID. I don't even know what that is, to be honest. So we'll just put 0 and error, since we made an error variable. So this is what will connect you to the server, and the connection ID you'll get from it will be a number. First player will be 1, second player will be 2, third player will be 3, and it will not change. So if somebody leaves, you don't, your player ID doesn't change, your connection ID. So therefore, this integer it's going to put in here is very useful in sending messages to the client, and also as the client, having that number will allow you could use it in a script for movement, like if you have player movement. So you don't control all the players at the same time, you only control yours, which means this will basically come into play when when your player prefab is instantiated. I don't know, that'll be for a later tutorial. I gotta figure it out myself. So, connect event, we don't need that. As the client, we don't need the nothing. We can use that, but we're not going to use it. And then disconnect event, that will never happen. Connect and disconnect will never happen as the client. Therefore, data event's the only thing useful. So these are set up. This is the very basics of what you need for both of them. Except this. You don't need the debug.log. But to get the message, you need this. And in fact, we can copy that over. Since these variables created in this little data event here cannot be accessed from other places. Like if I go here and I type in, oh, okay, yeah. So if I type in debug.log message, it doesn't even show up. And if I don't correct it, it turns red. It's because you can't access those outside of that like little data event. And it's the same thing whenever it comes to like other functions like this. These can only be accessed in here. If you were to make like another private void on connection, or how about on data, as in like data event, on data event. Hopefully that's not already something that exists in Unity. I don't know. We could go up here and create a variable for it. So for game use, and then this on data event, it'll whoops, we'll create public variable oh my gosh, public string message written out. So we have two functions, or two variables like that. Then in here, since basically this decodes it, we can just set message equal to that message that we can't access outside of it. And now we can, because this is shared across the whole script. So down here we can take the message and do whatever we want with it, such as debug.log. We got the message plus message. We're not going to do anything with this. This is just to show we're getting it in both places. But it's not going to matter there because we're going to build the server in Unity. So we're going to send, not only are we going to do this, this is in the wrong spot. You guys got to forgive me. Apparently I'm pretty stupid today. On connection event, debug.log, just so you guys can see, player space, then put the quote plus connection ID, which is what I was telling you about, that number that specifies what player you are, plus has connected. Then down here we'll do the same thing, except, oh my gosh, we'll just add the disconnected. So the last thing we have to do is send a message. So I'm going to reference my scripts I wrote earlier, because I still can't write this stuff by myself. So we'll write a function and you can change it just a little bit to fit your needs whenever whenever you need it. We're not going to build it in here. We're going to build it in the client, just for now. And I'll show you a better way to use it later. Again, we're in the client, so we don't need this. We're not going to see that message anyway. So public void process message. No. We're not going to process it. Send message to server. And then in there we'll just take a string. Info to send. Cool. And then in here we'll type byte buffer equals, oh, we got to get rid of this. Buffer equals encoding dot Unicode dot get bytes and then message or info to send. And we'll go in here. Next line, we'll type in network transport dot send. You spell it right. Hi. Is that working? Oh, I see what I did. Stupid mistake. Is that right? Should be. I broke it. So this should be update. No, it shouldn't. Okay, now we're good. So you want host ID, connection ID. So I didn't really understand this. I guess when you're sending it from the client, if you put your own connection ID, it'll send it to the server because that's exactly what's stored in that variable. So I guess it's just telling the server who it's coming from. I prefer using the unreliable channel all the time, but there's going to be cases where you don't want to. Buffer, message, or info to send in this case. Now, this is kind of weird here, but you have to send the size in bytes, and uh, it's not a great thing to have to calculate every time. So basically, what you want to do is dot length. What's a string? Got system.text. I don't know. Well, it'll let me do it. Dot or times an asterisk size of char, because we're sending text, we're sending a string, so the length will be how many letters and numbers we got in there, and then each one of those is equal to 1 char, so size of char. And then the only thing we have to put out on when we send a message is the error, and that's it. So did I need a second one, don't I? No, I don't. I have too many. Okay, and to show you this will work, we will call it up here somewhere. Let's see. Let's call it here. It's going to call it every frame. Send message to server, which is the one we built down here, and then it takes that string, and as you'll see when we do that, well, it did show it at first. Alright, doesn't want to show me what information is supposed to go in there, but just trust me here. So if you type in something like, we are sending a message to the server from the client. It's gonna send this every frame since it's in our update function, but that's fine. And then we'll just save. We'll save both of these. I'm in the habit of doing that, that's why it won't let me from there. Then if we go in here, oh, modifier 29. Oh, it's only on the error part. There we go, it should go away. Yep, all those warnings are just saying they're not being used when they are. They're just not being used by us directly. So what we want to do, since I added these two scripts, it's going to run both of these if we just leave them as is. And again, if you haven't changed it to run in background yet in here, just to show you again, if you haven't done that yet, this isn't going to work. But in the game manager, we want to uncheck the server and then hit Control B to build it. And I'll just make a new folder. Build. Then I'll just say test. So it's going to build it. It's going to be very quick. And the benefit to building it in the same project scene like this instead of in its own scene, which some people like to do, is all your objects and everything are going to be synchronized, and we can synchronize them later on. And as the server, you can see what's going on versus when you build a server separate from the client, you can't see anything, depending on how you set it up anyway. Then in here, we must run the server first or else it'll connect and it won't really work. You'll just have to try it out to understand. So we built the server, haven't gotten any messages. Here we go. We'll make it tiny. Not full screen. Guess I didn't window it, did I? Anyway, we got all we needed. We opened the client, it said player 1 has connected, and it did that the moment it established a connection. And then it sent the message 203 times, which later on when you send messages, you probably, like, if you put detail in them and make them a little bit longer than that, you might want to restrict how often they're sent. And it says player 1 has disconnected, which was when we closed it. I'll open it back up to show you again. So we'll clear this. And if you guys remember, we sent max connections to 20, and again, that has to be the same between both the client and the server. If we run this, in here, you'll see player 1 has connected, and it's sending the messages. But not only that, if we open another one over here, it'll say player 2 has connected. We're getting twice as many messages, and so on, and so on. And after you do it 20 times, it just won't connect the person. Is it not? Oh, it's just being slow. Wow, that's really slow. There we go, all 5 players have connected. Now we can go in here and close them real quick. And they disconnected a lot faster than they connected, but still. disconnected. And it did it in the order we disconnected them to. So yeah, that's about all there is for this tutorial. Again, if you want to learn more, this website will be in the description, and you can go in here, read everything you might need, and I'll probably make a video on this later on, since I have a web server and we can test it out. See you in the next video.